What's up, everyone? Welcome to the December 16th edition of the NBA Injury Report, brought to you by BetMGM. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. We have a 10-game NBA slate to look at tonight, so of course there are plenty of injuries to talk about, although the injury report is a little bit lighter tonight than on most 10-game slates, at least for now. Hopefully it stays that way, because otherwise it'll be a headache. But before we get to the injuries that we do have, be sure to click the link below, sign up and make a deposit at BetMGM. Place a real money wager of at least $10 rather, and receive a risk-free first bet of up to $1,000 on that first wager. Be sure to click the link in the description below to take advantage of that offer from BetMGM and boost your bankroll on that site. Now, starting with the Sacramento Kings, Kevin Huerter is questionable. He missed their last game, and we saw Terrence Davis start in his place. Davis played about 25 minutes. I expect if he starts again that he will play 24 to 26 minutes. There is a path for him to play more. Malik Monk closed over him, but Monk, I think, is typically going to close over Davis in that spot. There is also still some risk. In the first game that Davis started this year, he only played 15 minutes. He played really poorly, also had some foul trouble, but more often than not, I expect him to come in around 24 to 26 minutes, and at a cheap price tag, he will still look like a good value. For the Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green is out, Stephen Curry is out, and Klay Thompson is now questionable. This has all the makings of another game where the Warriors just do whatever the Warriors want, and they're really, really difficult to predict because Steve Kerr kind of just changes his rotations at a whim. But we can take our best guess at what things are going to look like here. If Thompson is out for one, Jordan Poole is going to look fantastic. Poole will look good. Poole will look good one way or the other. But if Thompson's out, you're just getting all of the minutes where Poole is playing without Curry and Thompson, where he has about a 34% usage rate this year. So he looks fine if Thompson is in. He's going to look great if Thompson is out. We saw Dante DiVincenzo start in place of Andrew Wiggins last game. Jonathan Kuminga has typically been the backup to Kevon Looney recently. They did call James Wiseman up from the G League, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kuminga start in place of Green and Wiseman be the backup center. But also keep in mind, the last time we saw Golden State rest most or all of their starters, you got Ty Jerome starting in place of Curry. You had JaMychal Green start in place of Draymond Green, so that's another route they could go. You could certainly go with Anthony Lamb in place of Draymond. So I think that it's important to sort of keep in mind who the good point per minute guys are with Golden State, and then sort of adjust to the starting lineup from a minute standpoint. Even in that last game, Jonathan Kuminga still played 30 plus minutes off the bench. I think he's still a high upside play whether he starts or not, but you can feel a little bit more secure in his playing time if he does start. Whereas if he comes off the bench, it's more of he'll be lower owned, but he's also a lot riskier. If Ty Jerome starts, he's still risky, but he is basically minimum salary. There's a lot of different ways that this can go. So we're really going to have to keep an eye on the starting lineup. But the big takeaways that you can be confident in are that Jordan Poole is going to look better if Klay Thompson is out, and that Jonathan Kuminga, if he starts, would be my favorite of the non-Jordan Poole starters. For Boston, Al Horford is available. Robert Williams is questionable, but he is expected to make his season debut tonight. Marcus Smart is now questionable with an illness. If he is out, it opens up more minutes for Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon. Those guys would look better in a favorable matchup against Orlando. And the arguably biggest pieces of injury news that we're waiting on, you could certainly say Golden State as well, but Minnesota, D'Angelo Russell and Rudy Gobert are both questionable. If Gobert is out, Naz Reid steps up as a great value option. He is unfortunately center only on both DraftKings and FanDuel, so he's not as easy to get into lineups as he would be if he were a power forward, but he is a 1.12 fantasy point per minute guy this year, and if Gobert is out, he should play the bulk of the center minutes and look like a really good option. For D'Angelo Russell, we also already have Jordan McLaughlin out, so if Russell is out, I expect we see a rotation similar to last game. Austin Rivers started. He played around 30 minutes. He's basically not useful at all for fantasy. Bryn Forbes, Wendell Moore, those guys also are essentially zeros from a fantasy standpoint. But it does open up more minutes for Jalen Noel, who played about 25 minutes off the bench last game. He could certainly play more if he's playing well and if Minnesota just wants to keep him out there. And he is a good fantasy point per minute guy. So there would still be some risk because, again, if he plays 24, 25 minutes, there's no guarantee he puts up a score that you really want in tournaments, but he does still have a nice ceiling. So he's someone that I would be willing to take shots on if D'Angelo Russell is out. You also get increased production for Anthony Edwards, as the offense would really have to run through him for the bulk of his minutes on the floor, since Karl Anthony Towns is already out as well. So to recap, the big pieces of injury news we are currently waiting on: Kevin Huerter is questionable for Sacramento. Klay Thompson is questionable for Golden State. Marcus Smart is questionable for the Celtics, and Rudy Gobert and D'Angelo Russell are both questionable for the Timberwolves.